All right, let's start with this fight. I believe, or I don't believe Loopy could have gone another 2 rounds. I believe Jessica could. I saw the third round coming at the end of the second round. As soon as that round ended, I was frozen for a few seconds. As I thought to myself, Loopy, this is going to be a hard third round for her. She looked beaten up and tired at the end of the second round. And it really didn't look like she could go another 5 minutes. So I saw the third round coming. And I just don't see another 2 rounds coming out of that. But as you saw, this is the most dangerous way to fight Jessica Andrade. It's how Loopy fought her. Loopy threw Andrade a major alley-oop. I believe I've mentioned this before. The most dangerous way to fight Andrade is if you just want to strike with her and she can take your shots, but you really can't take hers. She's going to blast through your technicality, your construct. And if you have gas tank issues, it's a wrap. I don't care how much better you are than her. She's going to get you out of there. She's going to beat you bad. Even in her losses, Andrade still had the capability to throw concussive punches. She would just simply get choked out or get knocked out, like you saw with Yan Xiaonan. But don't think for 1 second that Jessica Andrade could not have also knocked out Yan Xiaonan, Erin Blanchfield, Weili Zhang. Don't think for 1 second that she does not possess the power to knock anybody out. So for you to go in there and want to box Jessica Andrade, that's basically, but no, let me take that back. Loopy was throwing in some real nice kicks to the body at the end of her combinations. That was enjoyable to watch. And I enjoyed seeing Loopy wanting to put her striking on display. You know, she comes from wrestling. And it looks like she loves boxing. She loves to strike. And I believe her and her team saw this as a fight where she could put her striking on display. Put on a striking clinic. That's what I believe. And doesn't that look like the game plan they had coming out there? Like, hey, let's just strike with her. She can't strike. You see everything coming. Keep your hands up. I think Weili cemented that. You notice fighters have been doing exactly what Weili did ever since she did it. Just keep your hands up. Block those swinging hooks. But you still got to watch out for your body. Andrade's throwing in some good body shots. I believe Loopy was feeling them. She was feeling them. And generally, ladies don't take bleeding that well. I believe when they start to bleed, they start to feel like they're dying. I believe there is some extra panic jumping off in their mind when they're bleeding, and I think they're just quicker to lose their composure. Basically, they become a lot easier to stop or to continue to dominate when they start to bleed. I think it sort of took place here a little bit because Loopy, but I don't want to give that any credit. I think this would have happened on any night because Loopy's shots are easy to take. She hits hard. She got some good snap, but she don't hit hard enough to hurt or worry under. Andrade was eating those shots like nothing. You could tell Andrade was eventually she expected to get hit and didn't care. Wasn't even putting her hands up to block it. She's like, she can't. I can take these shots. She don't hit that hard. Maybe she did early in the first round, but Andrade started to really catch the shots with her face, just to land her own. That's vintage Andrade. You're laying the foundation for Andrade to look as best as she possibly can on her feet with a strategy like that. So I don't know if they anticipated this. A part of me believes they anticipated that they could hurt Andrade, Lupita and her team. But Lupita had to fight through hell. And it would have been hotter in hell for her had Andrade been fighting like that the whole 3 rounds. Had Andrade been able to catch up to her. Because I think a good reason why Lupi started to get hit more is because she started to lose her foot movement, her defensive construct. She was getting tired. She was getting tired, and Andrade was not. Andrade looked like she could do that forever. Jessica was not even a little tired. Do you hear me? Go back and watch that fight. She walking forward like she doing the dishes. Lupita fighting for her life, bleeding, tired, getting clobbered. Getting clobbered. And when you got a bloody face and you getting clobbered, it looks a lot worse. So, good for Lupi for winning the first 2 rounds decisively. I don't think anybody would argue that Lupi bagged the first 2 rounds. I didn't stick around for the decision, but I heard that it was 29-28 across the board. That all 3 judges agreed that she lost the 3rd round, but won the first 2. So I think this was a good opportunity for Lupi to practice and put on display her striking skills. I think that was a part of her game plan, her and her team. But she learned what happens when you can't hurt your opponent. Your opponent hits harder than you, and they have a better gas tank, and they just keep marching you down, hitting you in the head and the body. I noticed 3 rounds, man. There's no way I'd take Lupi to take another 2 rounds of that. Jessica wasn't going nowhere. Lupi was not about to lay nothing down. She was not gonna drop Andrade. But she definitely looked like she was about to drop, and would have had that gone another 2 rounds. So, top-notch fight. Classic fight. I want to take a couple seconds to appreciate this fight. This was a real fight, a genuine fight. Lupi was throwing hands like she meant it. Like she really wanted a stoppage. Throwing some real hard overhand rights. Lupi wasn't only trying to connect and put on a good show. She wasn't only trying to do that. I think she was actually trying to stop Andrade with some of those shots. And she looked good as a striker to me. Lupita. She put on a show, in my opinion, for, the ladies in those first 2 rounds. And then the 3rd round, vintage Andrade out of nowhere, where she's scary. Look like she about to kill you. I mean, you're dying as time goes on. And ain't no way you making it another 2 rounds. You better be glad this fight was only 3 rounds. It was like she turned back the hands of time for 1 round. That was crazy. But I sort of expected that. Andrade makes you fight. She makes you try to hurt her. She forces her opponents to do that because she hits so flippin' hard and is so strong herself. These ladies understand you gotta make her respect you. You have to, or else she's gonna run you over. Lupi sort of did that early, and it faded away. Andrade's no longer respected. I'm telling you, go look. She's eating them shots like M&M's. Go ahead, hit me again, because I'm about to clobber you. I don't care how many combinations you get off. You even saw how Andrade was becoming more and more effective at throwing off the tie clinch, where Lupi tried to grab back her head and knee her in the midsection. So, wow. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Now, the other fight. I thought Barbosa was going to get the decision. Now, there's a lot of people making the argument that this was the right decision. I have to go back and look at the replay. Because I really don't know, but I sort of really don't even care. I felt like this fight was a poor fight in general. Just a poor fight. Poorly executed, poor pace. The jiu-jitsu was more like a jiu-jitsu show, but I just felt like the excitement level was low. I felt like the excitement level was low. And more than anything, I'm looking for, don't stink up the joint. But anyways, Kareem Silva had and still has one of the most dominant win streaks you'll ever see from a female, ever. A ridiculous number of wins, all finishes. But y'all see how things change in the UFC. This is why, as someone else pointed out, this is why I say that in the UFC, your record sort of resets. You go back to 0-0. Because it's a different world overall in the UFC. And if you can stay undefeated in the UFC, I consider you an undefeated fighter. I might refer to you as undefeated. Someone mentioned, they said, hey, if a fighter has a loss or had a loss before they came into UFC, you can't call them undefeated. And I get that. But again, I put a lot of stock in your UFC record. Because if you are undefeated, if you're on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC, that's a lot different. Being on a 6-fight win streak at the regional level. And Kareem in the UFC is going to struggle. Her lack of striking skills, and also, in my opinion, takedown ability, already has been working against her. Now, Barboza is not too far off. She's a sort of a mid-tier fighter herself. But that's just the point. So, she had a couple good wins here in the UFC. Kareem Silva. But unless she makes significant improvements, I don't think I question whether or not she's going to be a title contender, and I seriously doubt it. Things were looking brighter for her. And from what I understand, she actually got booed after the decision. Got booed. Here's her record. Now, she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 UFC bouts. Okay? 6 UFC bouts. She came into the UFC looking like a serious threat. Poliana Botello, stoppage. Ketlin Souza, stoppage. Marina Moro, stoppage. All in the first round. Just like she had done every opponent that she had fought and defeated in her entire career. She came into the UFC with a 100% stoppage ratio. After a very good number of fights. This is after 14 victories. And really, let's say 13, because that was the Dana White Contender Series. This she also won by stoppage, but it was in the second round. But let's say officially in the UFC, she had stopped all 14 of the opponents that she had defeated. That is rare. Again, this is math. This is not me fanboying, pulling out the pom-poms, or even making an argument for Kareem Silva. See, this is what the fanboys don't understand. And they get people like me confused with being a fanboy. No, everything is math. She came into the UFC still doing the same thing, stopping every fighter that she defeats until she fought Ariane Lipski. Going into that fight, I asked the question, can Ariane make Silva look human? Human. And she did. Took her to her first decision. And then she goes on to lose to Ira Ujo. So, with Silva, styles make fights. And I don't even think styles make fights. Because on the mat is where Silva wants to be. But sometimes on the mat, she's not in an advantaged position. And last night, she did a couple stupid things. All this pulling guard and failed hooks and failed executions, like sloppy executions. Yeah, it didn't look good to me. And I see a lot, this is pretty common with the females. I believe I mentioned this before. They need to, that's one of the things that across the board females need to tighten up. Their execution. Stop being so sloppy. You got to explode into these executions with accuracy, just like you do throwing shots, throwing punches and kicks. I don't know if it's the anxiety or what, but too many failed chokeholds, failed this, failed that, failed. But a whole bunch of attempts. You know, and then they'll end up in a bad position on bottom. But what I suspect, and with the people who believe Silva won, they said she did more damage even though she was on her back. And to me, that's reasonable. Overall, not in this fight particularly. If you do inflict more damage, even though you're on the bottom, then you should be awarded those minutes or seconds of the fight. Simple as that. And you can fight effectively off your back if you're good with your guard. I think she had her in a semi, omoplata. At one point she was raining some pretty good elbows on Barbosa's head. And I think that's part of their new scoring system. Give more credit to fighters who may be on their back but inflicting more damage. I don't understand how that could have ever, been overlooked. Yeah, you might be on top, but you're getting hit in the head. How hard is that to see? But I don't know if, like I said, I need to watch the fight again. I don't know if Korean actually won or not. I really don't care. I don't think either fighter, I think they're both too flawed in this division to fight for the belt. There's just a lot of fighters I won't say a lot. Well, I will say a lot. Most fighters don't fight for the title. Most fighters never fight for the strap. So there are going to be a lot of fighters who I won't predict to fight for the strap. I can't remember when. I remember I was one of the earliest to predict, or was I? Aaron Blanchfield came out of left field for a lot of people. Most people didn't really predict her to be a title challenger early in her career. Yeah, I remember that clearly. Because most people I think were taking Macy Barber over her. Was it Macy? Not Macy Barber. It was some fighter that people were confused about. And I'm like, huh? I went with Aaron Blanchfield. Aaron Blanchfield destroyed her. But I always like to identify fighters who might fight for the strap early in their career or UFC career. I tried to keep up doing it on the regional levels, just too much film to watch. I don't have that much time. So I naturally do it here in the UFC, and whatever else I might get around to covering. But that fight is that. This was the much better fight. Like I said, classic fight. We saw vintage Loopy and vintage Andrade, right? Saw the best versions of both of them. Yeah, was it Maverick? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Miranda Maverick. Everybody was taking Maverick. I'm like, huh? Now Aaron is a serious force to reckon with. Of course, we predicted Natalia Silva. I remember speaking highly of her. Whaley. I get on this kick where I'll say that I'm going to take this fighter against anybody they're matched up against until somebody proves otherwise. I say that about Whaley. I can't remember exactly what I said about Natalia Silva, but I know I was I've always been high on Natalia Silva. Now she's up really next in line to fight for a title. Manon, and I don't think I was the only one to predict some of these fighters that they would rise up through the ranks. But it's pretty easy to see in most cases with the women. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see. Okay, Manon definitely looks like the type of fighter to eventually fight for the strap. We saw that in her UFC debut. And maybe, the next fight or whatever. It's not always easy to predict. Somebody pointed out in the comment section that if there were an atomweight division, Tabitha Ricci would thrive. And I have to agree with that. Even though she is not the best striker, Tabitha Ricci, her wrestling, she might be a Carla Esparza type. Carla never been a top striker. But look what she did in the UFC. She did the impossible. Another thing I want to point out, they moved Luciendo up. Was it one spot or two? Because they have two going down, but only one going up for Luciendo. I don't know what's going on there. But Luciendo fought down. She fought somebody who was ranked beneath her. And I was wondering whether or not she'd move up if she won the fight. Apparently, they moved her up. She's now number 7. So she's now in that area where you can expect sort of a title eliminator soon, especially right now, where look at your top 5 is not even really getting a title. Aside from Verna, it's like no to Suarez, no to Jan, no to Lemos, no to Andrade, no to Dern. Okay, y'all seeing that? They're not ready to get a title shot yet. None of them. So those who question Luciendo talking about getting a title shot, she made a valid point. Because that's very realistic right now. It's very realistic. Whaley, go ahead and fight Verna. It's really like an eliminator. for Luciano, if that. We've seen him do this before. We've seen fighters ranked fairly low get a title shot. So something strange might end up happening in the strawweight division soon. We'll see what they do with this super fight, if they have it or whatever. And I'll leave it there.